Suzi and Cat coming to you from the Exhibition Centre in Austin. It's the last hour of South by Southwest Interactive. And once again, we've had an amazing 5 days. Perhaps you've had a chance to catch some of the episodes we've already done where we interviewed great speakers. But anyway, all that's there available for you. Right now we want to do a wrap-up of the themes of this year's program.
Yeah, so it's no mistake that we're actually coming to you from the NASA stand at the block party, which wraps up in the exhibition hall for the trade show, if you like, of South by Southwest. And the reason why NASA is such a spot-on place for us to record this last episode is because one of the huge themes this year was intelligent future. We had the opportunity to have a look at bionics. We've had the opportunity to look at natural programming language from the Wolfram Institute. We've heard from Martine Rothblatt about cyber consciousness, cyber clones, mind clones, and how they are already working on the ability to upload our brains to the internet. Also the notion of joyful eternity, joyful immortality. The notion that if we can remove the things that age us, the discomforts that age us, then we will actually be able to live happily ever after. And what's fascinating about that whole conversation is that it's not actually future, it's real. It's here now. The stuff exists. I saw a man wearing bionic legs that actually enhance and augment what he had before he had his amputations. So yeah, intelligent future was one of the key themes this year. Quite mind-blowing, quite inspirational.
So often when we talk to people about South by Southwest, they think it's a social media conference. And yet it is really about how technology is changing our lives. And social media is no longer, as we found, a topic of conversation on its own, but it is just something that kind of underpins a lot of the ways that we communicate, whether as reporting or news or live events or the way that businesses connect with their customers. On the Intelligent Futures, there was more of a talk about becoming better versions of ourselves through the use of technology and intelligent technology. A couple of the things that we heard a lot was driverless cars. Now, where does that fit in?
Oh, I love the concept of a driverless car, but it was fascinating to hear that the development issues with the driverless cars is actually less about the technology. In fact, Google were very ready to launch a driverless car. It was ready to go, blah, 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 blah. But the assumptions that they'd made was that the passenger or the backup driver would actually pay attention and could be the backup if there was something going on. Apparently not so, because you know how we tweet when we drive and we're not supposed to? Well, that it gets amplified when you assume that the car's been driven. So again, really close technology, but having to factor in the human element, not just the technology element. Fascinating stuff.
And on the area of transportation, we heard from Lyft, we heard from Uber, not because they're really cool new brands, but because the way that we think about transportation and how we move around, our wants or not for material objects like cars, the job opportunities being created by these organisations, and the fact that transport becomes a social experience was a new point of view for me.
Absolutely, and the notion or the vision behind Logan Green's vision for Lyft is about removing the household burden to own a car, and therefore also removing the burden on countries and governments to provide new road infrastructure. And if you take out those elements, then you actually can start envisaging a very different world that has social impact, economic impact, political impact, climate change impact, which is just out of one business saying, yeah, let's do ride sharing instead of everybody having their own car.
We are here at the NASA stand, as Kat explained, and so science was a big topic, physics was a big topic, space discovery was a big topic, and these aren't conversations I have in my everyday life.
No, not at all. And I think we've said a number of times that one of the reasons why we come here is to have our brains broken, because as they then reassemble, we go back expanded, and that influences business decisions, life decisions, but also just that, I don't know, a visionary thinking to actually think bigger than what's in front of our nose.
Right, and we did a lot of that, a lot of mind-bending kind of concepts. I think what always comes to mind for me when we're here is opportunity, the opportunity for entrepreneurs, for innovation, for embracing technology more. One of the speakers today talked about fear in technology, and I come across entrepreneurs all the time who are, whether it's, oh, there's a new app, should I be using it, and how do I use it, and what about privacy, but not in my industry. There's all this fear about embracing technology, and their point of view was the quicker you embrace it, the quicker you make your mistakes, the better.
Absolutely, and I also heard another speaker say there's always these notions of, oh, but it wouldn't work in my context. It doesn't work with this culture. And the speaker actually laughed. It was Eric Rees from the Lean Startup. He actually laughed and said, it works across all cultures. It's the same. Like once you translate and you adapt, it's the same principles, universal principles, I guess. So yeah, fail fast, get involved, and it's actually more dangerous to be a scared person than it is to embrace, fail fast, and take the learning as you go.
So South by Southwest has been a staple on our calendar for our education for a number of years now. My invitation to you is to have a think about putting it on your calendar. It's unmatched by any conference I've ever been to, and I've been to many conferences around the world. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Catch some of the other videos that we have done. We've covered all sorts of things.
All sorts. And I think actually that's one of the key things. It's not just about, the reason it's called interactive is because it is just that. It is interactive. It's not just a tech conference. It's not just a digital conference. It's not just a social media conference. It's a place where new things get discovered, melded, merged and converged. And yeah, it's so much bigger than just one key discipline. It suits everyone.
Thanks so much for joining us. See you next time on Social Media for Small Business.